Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good morning everyone. So we will continue our syllabus with our last chapter and we continue from the previous week, from the last week lectures. So today we will focus on the contemporary issues related to the economics and development policies. So the first issue will be talk about the NEP, New Economic Policy. I think I have explained about this from from the previous syllabus, from the previous chapters. Previous chapters we talk about several public policy in Malaysia, and New Economic Policy is one of the policy that so relevant to the economic and also in for the development of our country Malaysia. So this issue under the economic policy in Malaysia, we are still talking about how this NEP is still yet to be achieved, and the objective of NEP is still yet to be achieved, because since the inception of the implementation of the NEP in 1971, uh, one of the main objective is actually to eradicate the poverty and restructuring the society. And eradicating poverty is more or less we have achieved so far, tremendously from 1971 until now 2024. But the second objective, restructuring society, and one of the way in restructuring society is to make sure that the Bumiputera ownership in terms of the property and asset, we should be 30%. Okay, however, it is yet to be achieved until now. So that is the reason why we have the incremental policy, from the NEP, National Economic Policy, to National Development Policy and National Vision Policy, and we have new economic model, and until now, okay, transformation policy, and etc. So this is one of the, not to say never ending issue, but then still lots more to be done by our government Malaysia, to make sure that this process of restructuring the society by maintaining and achieving the 30% of ownership, okay, among the Bumiputras actually to be achieved. So new economic model is very very interesting, which we very very prominent, which has been introduced back then in 2012. Yeah, because because we try to address the categories, the economic status of Malaysian based on the T20, M40 and B40. So if you heard about the word of B40, that is actually come from the new economic model. So whatever subsidies or government public assistance program provided by the government, that is actually to help to eradicate the poverty and sustainability and also the resilience of the people in our country Malaysia. So we hope that even though this new economic model have passed the era, okay, but then until now the effect, and in fact actually from the NEP also objective to still implementing the effort initiative of the government, okay, until now. Second issue under the economic and development policy will be the national housing policy. Okay, so this has been done so far. Okay, in 2018 it has been introduced. Dasar Perumahan Negara 2018-2025 is actually the what we call the upgrade, and then the revision of the existing Dasar Perumahan Negara national housing policy in Malaysia. But again, when we talk about national housing policy, the most important aspect need to be considered is about the affordability and accessibility for the people and for the rakyat to buy a house, to own the house. Okay, so that's the reason why we try to facilitate home ownership for Malaysian. The government goal is to make it easier for people to own a house, so we need to have what we call consolidated effort, and then integrated effort and concerted effort between various parties, to make sure that people can access, should be able to buy the house. Okay, so how we can do that? Maybe one of the effort taken by the government is by simplify legislation, um, and the borrowing process. But again, when we talk about the policy, there must be like, sometimes, most of the time, it would be, the externalities. The externalities mean that, okay, the side effect of, of formulating this policy. Yes, we can, simplify and then make it easier for the, for the people to do the borrowing, okay, from the financial institution, but the long-term effect of the people, to pay back, so that's another issue. But to do that, okay, so that's the reason why they need to have what we call what we call cooperation with several parties, for example, like, to provide better loan and for a better borrowing process for the people to buy the house. It should be, in integration from and cooperation from the bank negara, okay, because bank negara deal with this, bank negara will decide on the, the loan what we call procedures and things like that. Finance ministry, okay, employees provident fund, because you can withdraw your money from EPF to purchase house, okay. Banks to issue or to provide loan for the individuals who make, to make loan. Developers association also need to look into this matter, and then how much actually the threshold or the minimum what we call down payment that, need to need to be collected from the buyers, okay, and also the consumer bodies as well. The consumer bodies, it can include what we call the NGO or the civil society that can help to represent and to champion the right of the buyers or the consumers to purchase the house. But again, it is very important to highlight here that the role of government in formulating this policy to control, I think the most important thing is to control the price, the market price of the, house, okay, market in our country, Malaysia. So in 2018, one of the very important initiative of the government is actually to, to have what we call a rumah prima, kan. So even now, new government is coming in, but perhaps they will come up with a new name. But whatever it is, the same objective and initiative too, they will, continue the effort, okay. But we need to make sure that, again, which I mentioned just now, the concerted effort from various parties that involved in this policy, okay. So need to be integrated and to be consolidated to make sure that, the attainment of the policy objective. Again, what is the policy objective of this national housing policy is to make sure that people afford to buy a house, and to make sure that hopefully that every individual, okay, or at least every household able to own their own house, okay. So it involves perumahan negara berhad, rumah wilayah WIP, UDA, One Malaysia Public Housing, and Perumahan Pejabat Awam Malaysia, and many more, okay, to make sure that people can afford to have the house, okay. And then while the pricing threshold is very important, but then it's yet to be agreed on, because, to control the price of the house, because otherwise it's going to have what we call open market on the housing price or things like that, okay. And then that one is need to be controlled, okay. Both the public and private sector has agreed about dividing the country into different regions in order to establish clarity in pricing. Of course, we need to have different price, rural area and urban area, suburban and things like that, okay. And we also talk about the small office, home offices, okay, which come with residential elements, has made it necessary to have new laws governing such project to protect buyers. Of course, we have to protect the buyers when it comes to, loan, and then to protect them in terms of the quality of the house and things like that. But again, when we talk about national housing policy, we are not only concerned about, accessibility or the affordability of the people to buy house, but we also need to have a regulatory policy as well. This is also part of regulatory policy to control the contractors or the developers, to develop and to develop the housing area. So because it is should be what we call a win-win situation between the government and the rakyat, as well as the, the business or the what called the developer and the developer and the contractor, okay. All right. Next issue on the policy in Malaysia, we can relate to the environmental policy. So based from this slide, we can see the establishment of the Center for Environmental Technology Development in Malaysia. This center has been established long before, in 1985 already. So The idea of establishing this center is actually is a research center to study on the environmental issues which concern on the technology development in our country, Malaysia. This center has five main objectives, which are: the first one is about the climate change, which to address issue on environmental and pollution. Secondly, sustainable energy, which to ensure adequate and sustainable supply of energy in Malaysia, which includes water, electricity, natural gas, and many more. Thirdly, followed by initiative and sustainability studies. This one we need to monitor the progress of attainment, the Sustainable Development Goals introduced by the United Nations. And the fourth one about the organic farming to ensure healthy food security in Malaysia, which concern on several elements on food security, for example, accessibility, affordability, quality, and nutrient sources of food. And lastly, the fifth is a sustainable transport, which is more to environmental friendly for the transport. So this is the reason why now we provide subsidies and incentive for hybrid and electric car, for example, to reduce carbon footprint. Next issue, we should focus on the National Automotive Policy, which introduced in 2020. So the government need to review National Automotive Policy. The future of Malaysia's automotive sector lies in the manufacturing and production of high technology components, which indirectly will give impact in terms of the rising labor cost. So Malaysia should focus on becoming a producer instead of just an assembler, as most cars today are equipped with high technology components. The latest technology on car manufacturing also shown significant shift in this industry. I think this one we have discussed in previous slides. So thus the transition from internal combustion engine to electric vehicle can need to be recognized by Malaysia, and perhaps this could be a way forward for automobile industry. Indeed, yes, we should think of the cost-cutting measures on how to reduce cost, but to move on with technology and replace human with machine, this will lead to another socio-economic impact to the nations. Next, we move to contemporary issues which related to the social policies in Malaysia. So first issue under the social policy will be on the education policy. So the previous government has established a committee to review the national education policy, which comprised of academicians, politicians, religious experts, as well as representative of the NGO. So it is important to review the national education, philosophy and policy, and also improve the education curriculum and system. So now the new government under YB Fadhil Nasiruddin introducing her initiative strategizing for 2027 curriculum. So this will include all input in relations to enhancing science, technology, engineering and mathematics, STEM, technical and vocational education and training, TVET, digital education, as well as strengthening language proficiency, which have already been included into the 2027 curriculum framework. Other than that, the LP is one of the examples of a policy in education in Malaysia. So I might say this as inconsistency of the policy when we talk about teaching math and science in English, on and off, okay, with implementation of teaching math and science in English at schools. So recently, the stand of the government is DLP is not the only program to improve English proficiency among students. So the ministry has introduced the professional upskilling for English language teachers, Pro-ELT, and the highly immersive programs HIP, which involve teachers and students in all schools. So with this implementation, actually this is in line with the policy of memartabatkan bahasa Malaysia, memperkukuhkan bahasa Inggeris, championing by Malay activists in Malaysia. Next issue will be about the Malaysia welfare policy to bounce back after the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, so this is about the welfare policy in Malaysia. The significant impact is what we call in terms of the social welfare, is after the pandemic of COVID-19. As we can recall, the government provided so many initiatives to help the rakyat during the pandemic. So the economic stimulus package introduced by our former Prime Minister shows the government concern on the welfare of people. At the same time, the people need to bounce back from the pandemic and need to be more resilient and better prepared by not depending solely on the welfare program provided by the government. And most recently, when we talk about the launching of PADU, Bekalan Data Berpadu, okay, as the new Malaysian Central Database Hub that has been introduced by the Ministry of Economy as a means to consolidate information on Malaysian citizens. So the intention of introducing this PADU actually is to help and ensure no one is left behind, especially in social protection, because when we consolidate all the information, okay, and the information of the rakyat in Malaysia, so that we try to make sure that the rightful person will get the benefits, and to make sure there's no targeting error when we talk about the subsidies of government assistance in sense of a social assistance program. So in relation to what I have explained in previous slides, so this is to explain about one of the policy in welfare program in Malaysia. So initiative taken by Jabatan Kebajikan Masyarakat actually, because it helped to empower the communities to make sure that they can survive with their own from the assistance provided by the government. Okay, so program penjanaan pendapatan from Jabatan Kebajikan Masyarakat is one of the best example for this. Once the government award or give the assistance in forms of money, okay, then we hope that the recipient of this program penjanaan pendapatan, okay, can move out from the poverty cycle and become sustainable. Because in this program penjanaan pendapatan, the government or the JKM will give certain amount of money for them to to generate their own income by doing small scale business in terms of the livestock, agriculture, or small business and things like that, so that we hope that they can generate their own income, so that they can have what we call a sustainable income every month. So this indirectly can help them to move out from the poverty cycle. Next issue, we talk about the foreign workers, the flood of the foreign workers in Malaysia. So Malaysia eyes proper policy for foreign workers. So if you can see, over the years, Malaysia relies so much on foreign workers, especially in 3D jobs, yeah, sector that has grown exponentially to the point that we now have around 2.1 million documented foreign workers as February 2024, and this one is documented. So we still have a few numbers, many numbers undocumented, okay, undocumented foreign workers in our country. Okay, so the Ministry of Economy had previously set the shilling for the numbers of foreign workers at 15% of our total workforce, not more than that. So by having this shilling, is expected to be reached by May this year, and based on the current rate of approval process. So the Malaysian government has made an effort to reduce our reliance on foreign workers. So if we look at in 2016, back then, the government implemented a policy that compelled the manufacturing sector to ensure its workforce comprise 80% of the local workforce and maximum of 20% foreign workforce. However, the deadline for compliance was subsequently extended to the end of 2024. So as a conclusion, it can be concluded that there are so many issues in relation to the public policy in Malaysia. So what I have explained and shared with you, some policy issues in relation to the social issue, developmental issue, and also economic issue. So we have more than this, but in the same time, we always have to remember that things actually not stagnant, and there are so many things coming on, okay, in our country, okay, when we talk about the change in terms of the government, the political issues, okay, the climate change, environmental, okay, diplomatic relationship, the global changes, okay, which actually expose our country with many changes and many challenges, okay, when we talk about the policies. So there's no one size fits all, but in the same time, we are looking forward for for the government, the strength of our government, the political wills of the government to have and to improvise the policy for the welfare of rakyat in many ways, okay, in terms of the social economic development, okay, and for all. With that, thank you very much, everyone. So wish you all the best for your final exam.